What's up, everybody? What's up, Tim? Moni? We're going to turn the video on for this one, and that's
a curtain.
There we are. Okay. Excellent. Well, here we are. I was thinking, actually, we could even use this whiteboard to draw some things out. Look at this, guys. I don't know how serious y'all are about human design, but have you ever wrote the entire body graph out on the most impermanent thing that you could find, which is a whiteboard? Anyway, yeah, the whole sacral thing is all fucked up, but will you ever see the eraser? Thank you. You just had it ready to go. Let's go.
Right, bro.
All right. So for everyone joining, what's up? Good morning. At least it's morning where we are, and which we're in Maui. Maybe let us know where you're calling in from on the in the little chat box there. And this is just kind of the morning ritual that me and Shala and Luke have here, which is we read the transits. We read about the transits because, we all have our body graphs, and I just erased the body graph. But anyway, we all have our body graphs, and we're all being conditioned by other people's energies and other people's auras. And we're also being conditioned by the overall transits. And so if you go on the Neutrino app or whichever app you have, although Neutrino app is our favorite, and you go on your My Body Graph or anyone's chart, and then you click the transit tab, it'll show you the transit columns on the right where you can literally see what gate the sun is in, what gate the moon is in. And then each of these planets has their own connotations, which Ronan talks about more of that in the Sorcery channel, the Astrology HD Fusion thing, Astro HD. She talks about how to use some of the other planets, but primarily here we focus on the sun and the earth because we get 70% of our influencing energy from the sun and the earth. And so currently the sun is in gate 33, which is in the throat, reaching down towards the G center. And then we have gate 19, which is in the root center, reaching up towards the emotional center. And now, there's 64 gates, right? And so through 64 of these gates, we're going to move through roughly 2 transits a week. And so this is another way to familiarize yourself with the gates themselves, because we only have to worry about these 2. So, this week, really, you have an opportunity to solidify your understanding of gate 33 in the throat and gate 19 in the root by way of the conditioning elements. So one thing that I want to say about the transits is you may feel an excess amount of this energy, like 33, for instance. Nathan the other day was talking about how 3313, that channel is about secrets and fellowship. And so, for instance, having the throat active, the 33 of that channel, could, for instance, provide you with an excessive energy to share secrets or spill secrets that maybe are not yours. Same thing with 19. 19 would be an approach or a flirtation or a gathering of resources and assembling of powers for a revolution. 49 in the solar plexus. And so, you have these energies that are present in the collective that are providing us with a conditioning. And really, it's only relevant for the people that are being born. So 33 and 19 are kind of it's like a weather pattern that's moving over us. So you might get wet, but it doesn't mean that you're always going to be wet, if that makes sense. So you don't start a business or you don't, build a relationship purely off of these gates. You want to return to your own strategy and authority. It's just further tools for differentiation, the same way that my bro Luke here could be a tool to condition me more or to help me decondition. Transits are either going to condition you more, which is conditioning most people because they're not aware of it, or it is helping them decondition. So with all that being said, I think we're in 2? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we're in line. We're in the second line of the day or of the transit, and Luke is going to read out of the I Ching.
I Ching. So we're in gate 33. We're in retreat. We are the mountain underneath the heaven. So 6 in the second place means he holds him fast with yellow ox hide. No one can tear him loose. Yellow is the color of the middle. It indicates that which is correct and in line with duty. Oxhide is strong and not to be torn. While the superior men retreat and the inferior men press after them, the inferior man represented here holds on so firmly and tightly to the superior men that the latter cannot shake him off. And because he is in quest of what is right and so strong in purpose, he reaches his goal. Thus the line confirms what is said in the judgment. In what is small, here equivalent to in the inferior man, perseverance furthers. Look at the judgment again. So judgment, retreat, success. In what is small, perseverance furthers. So the inferior man furthers by grasping onto the superior man.
It's a contrast between like the inferior man grasping onto something super tightly, and then the superior man
letting go,
right? Because it's
and retreating.
It's retreat.
Yeah.
Okay. So that could be a good question to ask yourself, like, what am I grasping onto really tightly, and what am I letting go of?
Yeah. And another thing that I'm seeing too is like the superior man's willing to let go and he's retreating, but the inferior man is following the superior man, so he's holding on. So he's technically still retreating, but holding on to whatever it was, like, I need to be the superior man.
That reminds me of like a Jim Rohn quote. He talked about like, you got like your daughter who wants to go to a concert and she's asking you for money. And she comes up and says, Daddy, can we have, $50 to go to the, what's it called? The concert. And the dad goes, fine, here, take the money and go. Right. And then there's the other scenario where the dad says, he knows the kids want to go to the concert, but instead of having poor style with it, he like gives them the money with good style. Right. It's the same money. Like you're still spending $50. You're still retreating. But are you retreating, while, in a superior way, which is like actually letting go of something and retreating? Or are you holding on to it and being forced to retreat by way of retreat is happening? Like, again, with the transits, it's so much around, and digesting it is so much around like, this is what is the current state of affairs, right? And so if you don't, if you resist the current state of affairs too much, then, again, same. It's like focusing on your healing. And now it's like all you talk about is your trauma. People know you by your trauma, right? And so there's energy of like just holding on enough so that you don't like fall off of it and completely lose track of it. That's kind of why we have these talks. So it's like you can, get a glimpse of it. But then it's not necessarily controlling your entire day, because even just the awareness, you'll see things where it's like, oh, this is a place where I'm hanging on to something. But the transits is telling me to retreat. So, okay, what am I going to do? What does my strategy and authority say? Do I stay here? Okay, looks like I stay here. Because again, the transit has an energy. It's like a friend that would always tell you a certain thing, right? Because that's what they would do in the situation, but it's not necessarily what you would do. So it's important to, again, treat the transits like that weather and be like, yes, it's going to guide me and I'm going to be prepared, but ultimately I'm still going to make decisions with my own strategy and authority. So 33, line 2 within the Rave calendar, which this is in this book, which if you guys haven't already bought this book, I definitely recommend. This is a great book. It's also available on our online resources for free. But line 2 is called Surrender, the recognition that surrender to superior forces can be an opportunity to expand one's own strength and eventually triumph. Embracing powerful forces in order to lay the foundation for future success. That's the exaltation, the good sign. And the exaltation would be in Jupiter. And then in, is that Neptune? Yeah, Neptune. This is the detriment, let's be like the bad side. Unlike the reasoned and calculated surrender above, the deeper and personal surrender, the feeling that one's original position was a delusion, and the impressionability that makes right. A public embrace of powerful forces and a private resentment of their power. Yeah, so this is about integrity. It's like, do the people on the outside know how you feel on the inside? There will be that extra voice in you today that wants to tell them. But again, if there's no invitation and you're a projector, don't tell them. If there's nothing to respond to and you're a generator, don't tell them. If, as a manifester, like your authority doesn't line up to initiate, don't tell them. right? You still got to use your strategy. This is just adding energy to it. And so, like, for instance, you know, you have these gates defined, Luke, and then I don't, but I have their harmonic gates. So these gates actually, they create some definition in my centers for me. I have 49 and I have 13. And so with these transits active, I have full channels now, which again means even more so to be, be mindful that I don't, build a business or make a move or do something that puts me in a position where I have to maintain this energy consistently, because I'm not going to be able to, because the consistency of the energy is thanks to the transits. Which again is like, it's a subtle difference, but knowing that you're going to experience something for a week and thinking that you're going to experience something for the rest of your life, there's two very different approaches to that. So, yeah. Anything to add to that?
That's pretty clear.
Sweet. All right, let's go to 19.
19.
And just for those that aren't aware, the I Ching is what Ra used to come up with all the gates and all the channels in human design. So this is kind of like the source material, and as you can tell, it's like very poetic and how you say it's written in Chinese. So this is a translation of that. And then for human design, that would be another translation on top of this English translation of the original Chinese I Ching, which the original Chinese I Ching was a translation of like the systems within nature. So further translations and further decrypting of the stuffs.
Yeah. And this is what the book looks like. The inside kind of cover. I don't know if that's going to show up at all.
Oh, that's there.
Yes, there you go. And the outside doesn't really. It says on the side what it is. Okay, we're 19. The joyous lake below the receptive earth. Let's go to the second line here. So 9 in the second place means joint approach, good fortune, everything furthers. When the stimulus to approach comes from a high place, and when a man has the inner strength and consistency that need no admonition. That's an interesting word. Haven't seen that before.
Admonition.
Yeah.
Admonition.
Yeah, ADMONITION. Admonition. Good fortune will ensue. Nor need the future cause any concern. He is well aware that everything earthly is transitory, and that a descent follows upon every rise, but need not be confused by this universal law of fate. Everything serves to further. Therefore, he will travel the paths of life swiftly, honestly, and valiantly. So yeah, in relation to like retreating, it's like being superior knows that even though possibly it's a time to retreat, it's knowing that there's an ebb and flow, there's a valley, and there's a peak. So being able to know when, okay, now's the time, a good time to retreat, so that there's not any bumps in the road.
Right, or like we have to gather resources for whatever reason that one is retreating. That's interesting. This is kind of the essence of the hermit line, right? Is that like sometimes you have to hermit for different reasons, but ultimately understanding that retreat is like a natural part of the world. Like a lot of flowers will close up during the nighttime, or animals like chickens will retreat into the trees and sleep in the trees, and so retreat is a natural part of life. And there has definitely been, like there has with a lot of things, a deflation or an inflation of its value with little context as to why or to what end. And oftentimes, because we live in, a technological, capitalistic, all these labels, basically is saying there's a bunch of greedy people that are not really in connection with the earth or themselves or spirit, that there is, certain ideologies and pieces of nature that get twisted and manipulated. And so, again, with human design, at least for me, it's always been an invitation to kind of return to the natural way of doing things, as natural as can be. And, spending time to reflect on what energy we are experiencing from the heavenly bodies and the earthly bodies is definitely not something I grew up with. And so I'm excited to actually grow up with it and raise my daughter with it, and be with my friends with it, you know? So, any reflections on the 19 from the I Ching? Or should we go for the rave?
No, basically just, it's the approach on how to retreat. Nailed it on the head there.
All right. So then line 2, service of gate 19, which in the book of human design, gate 19, it's called approach or wanting. And it's that all things are interrelated, is apparent and manifested through the action of approach. Mm-hmm. So line 2 is service, which is the dedication of personal resources as a result of external contact. In the exaltation, it's dedication and service to the highest values, the energy that wants to be of service. In the detriment, it's protracted indecision, but given the nature of this position, eventual compliance, the need to be wanted that will eventually turn its energy into service. So this whole day is just about style. It's just about like what's in front of you, and in a way it's like, are you able to let go of it, or are you able to be of service without having this like internal like, I don't know. And I would say even like, it's not even more, it's kind of just about accepting, like maybe you do have that internal, like, I don't really want to do this energy, right? Mm. And again, that could be the transit. So you might ask yourself, if you have that energy, like, I don't really want to do this. Like, I forget, someone was like, oh, you would do that, Marco, right as I'm about to go into work. And so there might be this energy of like, like I have to go to work, and there's this other thing that I like really want to do. And so being able to take account of that. And one thing that one of my teachers told me was really important. He goes, the test of an educated person is not how much they know. It's whether or not they're able to neither reject or accept an idea outright, but the ability to entertain an idea. And then from there, if they're able to learn that thing, unlearn it, and relearn something else, like that's an educated person. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of human design is deconditioning. But in order to decondition something, you have to be able to accept what is actually there. And a lot of people, one of the reasons why their deconditioning halts or doesn't start or starts to kind of like reverse, and they go back into conditioning just through a different person or lens or whatever, is because of that unwillingness to accept what it is that you find within your experiment. It's like if you're boiling something and there's a rock in your boiling pot, and that rock will eventually fuck things up, you could choose to ignore it and be like, oh, there's no rock in there. There's no rock in there. Or there's no unwarranted, unwarranted approach, or unwarranted, what is this one? Unwarranted retreat. There's none of that. I'm just going to ignore it. And then eventually it blows your experiment up. It comes out sideways. So it's better to accept and know that there's a snake in the room rather than to be in ignorance with the lights off. Because it's much easier to know if the snake is going to bite you in the face if the lights are on, which might be more uncomfortable. But alas, snakes in the grass.
Snakes in the grass gonna bite your toes.
But snakes in the grass find the people hiding in the mountains. Okay. All right. So now what we do, that was the T in transits. And now what we're going to do is we're going to pull an oracle, just a guiding hexagram for this day for 33.2 and 19.2. Mm-hmm. And to do that, we're going to use the coin method. And shall I?
We need Unomos coin.
Yes. Excellent.
One more.
Bro, where are my coins at?
I don't know, but there's two. And I got some in my holsters. Left side, back zipper. Maybe.
Oh, yeah. There's hella coins in here.
Hella coins. I don't throw coins away. All right. So, yeah, I don't know. We haven't looked at the chat. How we all doing?
Hey, everyone's good. I think we're just,
y'all have beautiful hair.
Listen.
Super cute. Thank you. Yeah, if you guys have any, insights on what you're feeling with these transits, feel free to throw it in the chat. We'd love to see it and relate with you and talk about things.
Sweet. All right. So now we're going to we're going to draw out a hexagram. And the way that we do this, for anyone that wants to learn how to do this, it's so simple. It's the most simple thing in the world. You get 3 coins. Okay. They just have to have a heads and a tails, you know, like a normal coin. And then you're going to just throw them. So I'm going to throw them right now. And then
That's a good example.
So I'm going to flip the camera around. Oh, we got 13 people in here now. What's up, everybody?
Hey.
Okay, so
3 heads.
what we got is 3 heads. Y'all can see that? So heads are 3 points. So I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then Luke is going to draw out the first line of the hexagram. You start at the bottom, and when you get 3 of the same kind, so if you get 3 heads, you're going to put a dot next to it. And if you get 3 tails, you would put a broken line and then a dot next to it. So we're going to throw it again. This is for the second line, which is what we're in today. And we got 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's an odd number. That's going to be a unbroken line. That's yang. Even numbers are broken lines. Odd numbers are solid lines. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's yin. So that's our first unbroken or broken line. What do we got?
3 heads.
The greater yang. Okay, cool. So we have a yin or a yang line with a dot next to it. Now we're doing another yang, another greater yang.
3 heads?
Yep.
Damn, son.
It's a yang kind of day, baby. And then, so that's 5 lines?
Yep.
So the last line is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So yin, so broken line. All right. So now what happens is any lines that have a dot next to it are going to change. So for instance, that yang is going to be a yin line now. That yang is going to be a yin line now. The other yin will remain the same. That yang will remain the same. And then that yang at the bottom becomes a yin line. So this is our pull. And then this is the changing hexagram. And then the reading, we're going to read both of them and kind of like, you know, scrape some information from both of them. So Luke is right now looking up the what this hexagram is.
58. It's lake on lake, baby.
58, baby. Lake on lake.
By the way, thanks, Chris, for this awesome image.
Oh, yeah. This is super cool.
This is super helpful.
I love that.
Chris, you're the best.
So the way that you're finding it is you're looking at the bottom hexagram, which is yang, yang, yin. And then we're finding where that is on here. Yang, yang, yin. Okay, so we know it's going to be up in here somewhere. And then we're looking for the upper trigram right there, which is also yang, yang, yin. Right there. 58. Boom.
The joyous.
The joyous.
All right, let's go ahead and find the other one real quick.
And the 6th, Mara's asking, why the 6 lines? I actually don't know the specifics around that. I would say like something along the lines of there are 6 lines. No, triangles are the most stable shape in the world. You know, you got like, you know, the Holy Trinity, you've got the pyramids at Giza. It's just like literally the most stable shape in the world. Duality is cool. That's just a line. But once you have 3, now you have the ability to move upward or ascend in the world. And so that would be one of my reasons. And these hexagrams are just built of 1, 2, 3. That's one trigram. And then the second trigram sitting above it. But that would be a really cool, I don't exactly know what the significance of the 3 is. I just know that significance, the 3 has significance in general. If you would want to look that up and share as to why that is, that would be really cool. Okay, so we have 58 and 7. The army, which 7 is the pairing gate. 7 is right here, y'all. And this was the pairing gate for the last transit, 31-7 right there. Currently, we're in 33, which is right there in the throat. And then 19 is over here. All right, so let's do let's do the reading now, yeah?
Yeah. All right. So 58, we got the joyous lake. We got lake on lake, lakes on lakes. So this hexagram-like sun is one of the 8 formed by doubling of a trigram. The trigram Tui denotes the youngest daughter. It is symbolized by the smiling lake, and its attribute is joyousness. Contrary to appearances, it is not the yielding quality of the top line that accounts for joy here. The attribute of the yielding or dark principle is not joy but melancholy. However, joy is indicated by the fact there are 2 strong lines within, expressing themselves through the medium of gentleness. True joy, therefore, rests on firmness and strength within, manifesting itself outwardly as yielding and gentle. True joy, therefore, rests on firmness and strength within, manifesting itself outwardly as yielding and gentle. Yeah, so it's like having a good, strong frame for Kung Fu, but then appearing as a Tai Chi master.
Like I could rip your cheek off. But first, I will
face off.
But first, I will pet the horse.
Yes.
You know.
Let's see, the judgment. The joyous success, perseverance is favorable. The joyous mood is infectious and therefore brings success. But joy must be based on steadfastness if it is not to degenerate into uncontrolled mirth. Truth and strength must dwell in the heart, while gentleness reveals itself in social intercourse. In this way, one assumes the right attitude toward God and man and achieves something. Under certain conditions, intimidation, it's just broken up, it looks weird. Intimidation without gentleness may achieve something momentarily, but not for all time. When, on the other hand, the hearts of men are won by friendliness, that are led to take all hardships upon themselves willingly, and, if need be, will not shun death itself, so great is the power of joy over men.
I like that.
It's a deep one.
There's a lot there.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's all ultimately, it's like
So this line,
joy, how to be joyful.
yeah, how to be joyful. So under certain conditions, intimidation without gentleness may achieve something momentarily, but not for all time. Something about that line. Like, when you intimidate somebody without having a gentle, like, approach to it, like our transits today, yeah, it's only going to last momentarily. You know, like if I'm driving down the road and, you know, somebody maybe cuts me off and I honk my horn and flip them the bird and say, fuck you. That's only going to momentarily influence them. And then they're going to be like, man, that guy sucked. Why did you do that to me? Whereas if, you know, maybe I pull up by him like, hey, I hope you have a good day. Watch where you're going next time. So if I do it with a gentle approach, then it's going to have a deeper impact on them. Be like, oh, that guy was really nice. And yeah, I kind of cut him off. That was annoying.
Yeah, I'm a dick. I'm going to go learn human design. I'm a Discord. And I'm going to read the I Ching. That reminds me of something from 47, which is oppression and exhaustion. I pulled this one, was it 2 days ago or yesterday? No, it was yesterday, or it was 2 days ago. But there was something about being cheerful despite the danger. It kind of sounds like delusion. But to me, I'm like, to maintain your joy within the context of whatever is going on, like regardless of the circumstances, to maintain your joy. Because it's like, you know, for instance, there's this conversation, a lot of people are being offended. And they act like they've been offended as if they had no choice in it. For instance, you might say, Marco, your hair is ugly. And I can choose to be offended and engage in it and be like, well, why do you think my hair is ugly? Like, I really pay attention to my hair. I don't necessarily pay a lot of attention. Okay. I do brush it often, though. But it'd be like, I brush my hair often. You know, like, I'm offended. I'm choosing to be offended rather than saying, oh, thanks for your opinion. And just being on about my joyful way. So, one, I think probably part of this, and this is only half of the reading, in the sense that we got to read 7 as well to kind of get some more context, because this I Ching does change. But big thing about joy is Again, having the stable foundations for joy, not necessarily just like being delusional. And when you have that joy, understanding that people cannot take that joy from you unless you surrender your stance.
Yeah,
Like
100%. Yeah, and just to reply to you, I think it says mirror. Numerology does the pentagram thing too, like the triangle upright and then upside down. One is conscious, one is subconscious. Maybe it's something similar. So what that brings to my thought is like when we're looking at these hexagrams, we've got 3 sets of lines on top of 3 sets of lines. So we've got the heaven on top of the earth. So yeah, there is truth in that. Definitely. Like it's, we've got the conscious, we've got the unconscious, we've got the earth, which is our bodies here. And then we've got the heaven, which is above looking down upon the earth. So yeah, totally. Yeah, it's all linked together. I mean, numerology is joined up in here and the human design as well. I'm going to read the image on this and then we'll move to 7. So lake resting on the other. The image of the joyous. Thus the superior man joins with his friends for discussion and practice. A lake evaporates upwards and thus gradually dries up. But when 2 lakes are joined together, they do not dry up so readily, for one replenishes the other. It is the same in the field of knowledge. Knowledge should be a refreshing and vitalizing force. It becomes so only through stimulating intercourse with congenial friends with whom one holds discussion and practices application of the truth of life, which is what we're doing right now.
That's this.
Yeah, I read ahead and I was like, oh, I gotta share this. It's funny. So in this way, learning becomes many-sided and takes on a cheerful lightness. Whereas there's always something ponderous, there's already water in there, and one-sided about the learning of the self-taught.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Read that last line again.
Okay. So in this way, learning becomes many-sided and takes on a cheerful lightness, whereas there's always something ponderous and one-sided about the learning of the self-taught. So like if I was just going to take this I Ching book and be like, I'm going to read all this,
By yourself.
I don't have like as much insight and understanding if I didn't do it with Marco here. But then we take it a step even further and share it with you guys. Like we're still learning so much about the I Ching. You know, it's my first time reading Gate 58. It's going to be my first time reading Gate 7. You know, it's a lot to learn. But then since we're doing it in this way all together, it just has a larger impact. We're just lakes filling each other up right now.
I like that. And also one of the things too, like, the moderators, Chris, Ori, yourself, Prana, Ronan, you know, these are all people that, when I first started the Discord, before there was, 600 people here, it was, 10, 15 people, and they were the ones that were excited to, have a community, just like I was. And, none of us were like masters of Discord, but I'm learning how to use bots and stuff. Like this is going to be recorded, which is awesome. And then it's going to be posted later. I still haven't figured out exactly how to make it so we can listen on our apps, but we can listen. There's an app that Chris posted that you can download that will play it. But anyway, I digress. The ability to share this is, I'm really excited about it because I do know like some people are just like going to work or doing something and they don't necessarily have time to do this, but they can plug their headphones in and drop in with us. So it's just really exciting.
So a couple, Chris threw in there, I love that. In 19, it mentions something about joint approach as well. Your approach of retreating into the I Ching and transits is through community. Yeah. And then Prana says here, does traditional I Ching look at the trigrams like line 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 5, 6? HD relates these trigrams to the awareness centers of the body graph. 1, 2 are splenic, 3, 4 ajna, 5, 6 are solar plexus. Prana says, gotta run. Maybe we can answer that for him.
Love you, bro. Thank you for bringing that through. That's super cool. I love that because, in a way, the I Ching it's just awareness. It's not necessarily action. We have to take the action, or we have to forge our own identities or speak about it. And so, in terms of 1 and 2, the investigator, hermit, like those being splenic energies, I mean, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Well, and he's asking too, like, does the I Ching look at this like that?
I would say probably not, because then this one of the things, like the gems on the floor that Ra kind of picked up and started playing around with and molded into the human design system is like, there's dots here that are not necessarily being connected directly within the I Ching. So yeah, I don't know that, but I can see how Ra could look at the 6 hexagrams and be like, oh, we have 3 awareness centers. That's, a polarity within each of them.
Yeah, and I also, reading the lines more, once we're going through the days, I feel like the writings about the different lines actually like sync up with the different, like, first line, second line, third line, being the investigator, the hermit, the martyr, like
Totally.
there's an energy behind it. So that's probably what Ra picked up on, and then
yeah, I mean, that would be
thing.
a good little investigation if someone wants to go investigate that. I'm probably not, but definitely if someone wants to go investigate that, I don't know exactly where you would look. Maybe like in the actual I Ching book, talking about the lines. Because yeah, again, there's still so much that I don't know about the I Ching, that we don't know about the I Ching, that we're exploring through doing this way. And I think I said it, a couple of days ago. I'm like, I'm trying to break the whole like coaching industry by like making this community fucking awesome. So, in a way, I would be so stoked if people started, learning here, and then through this community felt empowered to then be a local lightning rod for human design, and then they can begin sharing information with their community through this community, empowering and helping to educate them and guide them along the path. That's like an ultimate vision for me. And that kind of like goes against what my business strategy might ought to be, which would be just to sell you guys a bunch of more shit. I'm not necessarily into that. We're doing something else. So anyway, that was 58, Joyous Lake. Let's move on to gate 7, shall we?
Yep. 7, we got shit, the army. So we've got water below earth. This hexagram is made up of the trigram Kan, water, and Kun, earth, and thus it symbolizes the groundwater stored up in the earth. In the same way, military strength is stored up in the mass of the people, invisible in times of peace, but always ready for use as a source of power. The attributes of the 2 trigrams are danger inside and obedience outside. This points to the nature of an army, which at the core is dangerous, while discipline and obedience must prevail outside. Of the individual lines, the one that controls the hexagram is the strong 9 in the second place, to which the other lines, all yielding, are subordinate. This line indicates a commander, but it stands in the middle of one of the 2 trigrams. But since it is in the lower rather than upper trigram, it represents not the ruler, but the efficient general who maintains obedience in the army by his authority. Yeah, so groundwater. That's a really cool way to look at the army. It's the water being stored in the earth that's ready at any moment to be used as a source of power.
It's like a farmer militia, where it's like everyone in the society is like a farmer and contributes to society. But when wartime comes on, everyone knows how to fight, and you see this a lot in movies where it's like, we're just farmers. And they're like, well, today we're warriors, and I'm going to teach you 17 years of training in 4.5 minutes of montage. You know what I mean? So, but in the reality sense of it, the army needs a general. And the 7 and 31 is that general, and 7 is the army, or rather, I would even say is the loyalty that the army has to the general. At least that's how it applies to human design. That
makes me think too. Like you brought up the farming. So many of the weapons in Kung Fu are just tools that farmers use,
right?
Like a pitchfork or scythe. Yeah, all different kinds of things. I wonder if we could attract someone in the group who studied I Ching or Chinese medicine who can add to this.
That would be awesome.
Wonderful.
And like that's a great. Who's that? Angel.
Angel.
Of course, Angel's always bringing the fucking fire suggestions. Yeah, if you guys know anybody, or anybody that fits that description, they're more than welcome to join the community. One thing that I'm present to is like, I really want to reward participation in this community. And so, someone coming in as an authority, like the authority is not necessarily for me to assign because I'm the admin, right? The authority is this person showing up and bringing value and contributing naturally of their own accord? Because, I'm not out here employing anybody. This is all, Chris is a volunteer, Luke's a volunteer, I'm a volunteer. No one's getting paid for any of this. This is just for the sake of our learning and for the sake of sharing our learning. And then also now I feel like the Army really resonates because part of me is like, we're building a conscious army here on Discord. Mm-hmm. And eventually, again, like I was saying, the intention is that hopefully through the education and the community and the support that you get here, you'll be able to be that in the real world for your friend group and your family and your workplace. And, ultimately like create your life with the frameworks that we all can collectively look at and ponder and learn together. So, I would love to have like an actual I Ching expert.
And Chinese medicine too.
Yeah, and Chinese medicine. Cool. All right. With anything else? Read the image, maybe? Or did you already read the image?
No, I just read the main. Look at the judgment real quick.
Okay, cool.
So the army needs perseverance and a strong man, good fortune without blame. So yeah, like you were just saying, like we're all studying this together. It's like we're all becoming generals by learning this together. Becoming human design generals, I Ching generals, just by studying and practicing. Keep that in mind. An army is a mass that needs organization in order to become a fighting force. Without strict discipline, nothing can be accomplished, but this discipline must not be achieved by force. It requires a strong man who captures the hearts of the people and awakens their enthusiasm. In order that he may develop his abilities, he needs the complete confidence of his ruler, who must entrust him with the full responsibility as long as the war lasts. But war is always a dangerous thing and brings with it destruction and devastation. Therefore, it should not be resorted to rashly, but, like a poisonous drug, should be used as a last recourse. Yeah, so it's like the difference between medicine and poison is in the dose. It's like how hard are you going to strike? Or do you strike at the right time?
Right. What comes up for me with that is like there's certain people that will like look at human design and they'll be like, oh my God, I need to like learn everything. And they'll learn everything and they'll do everything, but they still won't practice their strategy and authority. And that's one thing that, for me, I have a lot of judgments about the person that does that. And, I would hope that those judgments inspire them to actually just practice the basics so that they actually can know everything and be embodied in it rather than just having a bunch of information in their head. But in terms of like the dosage and war as a last result, the deconditioning process is kind of like a war and a battle. And you can get caught up. I think I might need more water in it. But you can get caught up very much so in like, oh, I'm not an authority in this. I don't know everything. And like, again, like if you're at where you're at and you're resisting where you're at, or you're ignoring, or you're over judging or overly critical of where you're at, there's no way that you're going to be able to ascend from where you're at. Or maybe you're too high and you need to descend. It's not just about going up, up, up and transcending. Sometimes it's about descending into your life. But when it comes to waging war on the conditioned self, there are diplomacies and agreements as opposed to just, I'm going to destroy and kill my ego and I'm going to completely drop all my friends and I'm going to completely shift. You can do that. If your authority tells you to do that, you can do that. However, my reflection is one that sometimes causes more chaos and more confusion when if you just start implementing small things like, oh, you start practicing your sacral calibrations, or you start using, as a projector, you start using a soundboard, right? Or as a manifester, you start taking account, you find your counsel, right? The people who you're going to allow into your aura because you have this blocked aura. Or as a reflector, you're going to start tracking the transits like I do. You know, you're going to start actually using your strategy and authority as opposed to just burning down the entire village. Because something out of the art of war, they say, is if you have to destroy a city to capture it, you didn't take a city, you took a ruin. It's far superior to use diplomacy to claim a territory or to win a battle as opposed to needing to summon the army and rouse the troops and turn the farmers into warriors. It's like, again, you want them to be ready, but you also want them to be farmers, to do the thing that makes them happy and fulfills them and brings them peace. And so
feeds them and feeds everybody.
Yeah. So with this, there's an excitement because I'm like, yeah, everyone's warriors, but I'm also like, hey, let's be farmers. And then if you need to turn the warrior on, then you can use whatever is in your hand as a weapon. But until then, farm your awareness with human design. You don't need to, there's not necessarily anything to conquer.
And when danger threatens, every peasant becomes a soldier. When the war ends, he goes back to his plow.
Because you're going to have to come back to like actually being alive, not necessarily being at wartime with yourself. And I see this a lot within like medicine communities, and no shame on anyone who's working with plant medicines or anything, but there are a handful of people who within that realm are completely addicted to plant medicine, and they're doing more work. I'm doing work for my ancestors. It's like, well, have you enjoyed the work that you've done for yourself? Or are you just taking it upon yourself to heal the entire world?
Mm-hmm. And Dragon, you read my mind. It's better to be a warrior in the garden than a gardener at war. That's exactly what this is talking about here.
Precisely.
Being prepared for war by training, but also tending to the garden. So.
Yeah. Which, little plug here, anyone that wants to train the way that we train, in a couple years there'll be a Kung Fu school. I guess they could sign up with Kung Fu New Mexico.
You could.
Right?
You could sign up with my masters and tell him that I sent you, and he would be super stoked.
So if you do want to train Kung Fu, what is that? Shaolin Kung or
Chinese Shaolin Kung Fu.
Chinese Shaolin Kung Fu. Post that in the.
I'll post it in the general chat later.
But yeah, and then the biomechanics as well, which I have a really silly name for it. It's in the form. It's called "Work Out for Me." Work out for me. Work out for me. It's a J. Cole song reference. Anyway, I'm going to make an actual. I'm going to probably dress that up today a little bit better. But walking, running, and throwing. These are the three things that make us human. If we're able to train in those ways, as opposed to like, doing a bunch of yoga or doing a bunch of CrossFit or bodybuilding or football or basketball, anything, like the postures and the patterns within walking, running, and throwing are our foundational pieces. And so if you want to, if you're looking for a way to train that is as close to what nature intended for our bodies to be doing as possible, it's walking, running, and throwing. And we have an archive of it's like a virtual gym that you guys can join. So
yeah, you got a point. Yoga is good. It's great for your body, but you can't just do yoga because you're just going to become flimsy and loose. At least not in the sense that we do it in the Western world today. Like if you just do the flexible, stretchy yoga, yeah, it's going to make your body feel good for us, like a certain amount of time. But yoga was intended to do with dynamic tension and strength, which is like what we're doing with biomechanics, even within Kung Fu as well. Mm-hmm. Kung Fu actually comes directly from yoga. Buddharma taught the Chinese monks the 49 I Ching Ching, which is the yoga-like postures that are done with dynamic tension. And those guys became yoked. They didn't need to lift weights.
Yeah. And then also yoga also was intended as a way to strengthen the body so that they could sit in meditation for longer. With all that being said, it's like, training biomechanics really just makes your yoga better. Yeah. It makes your CrossFit better. It makes everything else you do better because it doesn't matter what you do or where you do it or who teaches it, you got to walk there or you got to run there, right? You walk to your car, get in your car, drive to your yoga studio, or you walk into your living room and then you do your yoga flow there. So there's, again, a foundational piece around walking, running, and throwing where it's like, if someone can't walk, run, and throw, if you think about it, and this is like a very brutal, realist way of thinking about it, but if someone can't walk, run, and throw, unless there's somebody who can walk, run, and throw, that person is going to die. So
Yep.
With that being said, it's just like, again, the warrior plug is like, if you want to be a warrior in a garden, is like, we have a warrior training grounds for you if you want to do that. And of course, you're welcome to do whatever you want, whatever works for you. And the thing about yoga too is like I did yoga a lot at the beginning of my spiritual awakening, and I got, like Luke was saying, I got like really loose and kind of messed up I was doing yoga and rock climbing. There was like a gym that I was doing that at. And I would come out of yoga super flexible, and I got injured because I was like in super bendy world. And then now I'm in like dynamic rock climbing world. And I did something with my bendy self that my muscles couldn't actually support. And I tweaked out my shoulder. So, it's just one of those things that's like, again, you can have an army, but without the general, the army is dangerous. Or you could have a general, but without the army, the general is not necessarily able to do anything. And so this is part of this, return here is like, you got to have acknowledgement of both.
Gotta have the strong line, or else the weak lines will just all crumble.
Yeah.
Because like in this hexagram right here, we only have one strong line. So if that strong line were broken,
then it would be the receptive.
It would be receptive. It's totally different.
Which is a totally different energy.
Oh.
Yeah. Man, this was a good one.
Angel said, makes me think of Woodstock song by Joni Mitchell, Get Back to the Garden. I've queued that one up on my Spotify because I want to hear that. Sounds dope.
I say, and spirit only facts. Yoga combined with breathwork is amazing. Isn't there a book?
Isn't there a book about natural athletes? I'm gonna find it again. There's definitely a book saying exactly what you are.
Yeah. So it's called biomechanics, which is the study of how life works, and specifically, what we've studied would be like functional patterns. So specifically looking at the fastest walkers, runners, and throwers in the world, or the best walkers, runners, and throwers in the world, and dissecting their patterns. So what moves first? Oh, their pinky moves, like stuff like that. Then their toes move, and then their arms move, and then their chest rotates, and then they take their steps. So a lot of us are not, again, really thinking about that in general. But again, when it comes to being a human being, like, what is more natural than walking, running, and throwing? Breathing, eating, making love. There's a lot of things that are very natural to being a human being. Things that are not natural necessarily. Driving, being on a smartphone. There's tons of unnatural things in terms of practices and things that we can do that we will then associate and identify with. It's a conditioning. So again, if you only do yoga and your whole identity is yoga, right, then it's like, now you have just, pigeonholed yourself, or your whole identity is CrossFit. You just pigeonholed yourself, because there's a lot more to you than just that one thing. But people are looking to be conditioned so that they can fit in a homogenized world. But we already, in our differences, we already have our tribes included. So for instance, if you're the kind of person that, you like waking up in the morning, but everyone around you doesn't like waking up in the morning. One of the invitations would be, if you really like waking up in the morning, what would it be like if you were surrounded by people that also liked waking up in the morning and doing the things that you do naturally, not because that's your partner or whatever, your dad or whatever, just because that's what they actually like to do. My invitation would be, go find those people, or rather make some room in your life so that you're not surrounded by people that don't necessarily resonate with you. And again, be tactful in the way that you do it. Not necessarily, it doesn't have to be all at once. Doesn't even have to all be right now. You could just energetically start to shift yourself and then see what happens in your physical reality.
Or you could embrace the hermit within and wake up by yourself.
Yes, indeed. So there's a lot of ways, to be creative about it. And that's probably the bigger piece of it. And I'm happy Joy came up, because that's one of my biggest intentions with this community, is for it to be joyful. So it's like, I picture some of y'all out there like getting off work, or maybe just going into work, and being like, I'm so excited to like check my phone and say what's up to my community, because there's real people on the end. Obviously, like we're real here, and then all of y'all out there are real. So we have a handful of bots in here, obviously helping us recording and things like that. But for the most part, most of us are real. And so, the invitation is to, bring your joy here. There's places for bringing your sorrow and your grief and your emotions as well. This is not therapy. I mean, as far as I know, no one in here is like an actual clinical therapist. But that's the thing is, if you're sick, you don't necessarily need a doctor. You just need to see what's going on. And for someone that has been sick in the same way that you are, or knows someone in that way, there's guidance that we can offer each other. And so we're not here to fix each other so much as we are to invite each other into realizing like there's nothing wrong with you. If you're physically ill, like, go see a doctor. But if you got like emotional energy that needs to vent, there's an emotional channel for that. If you've got, splenic stuff going on, like you're sick, you post in the splenic section. If you're like, I have some stuff going on with career, post in the career section. Again, this is a place to bring your joy, and ultimately the endeavor is to, like the joyous lake 58, which we just pulled here, lake is for my joy to become now your joy, and your joy to become my joy, and just let it be infectious like that. All right. Well, I think that's it, guys. Lake Army. Big love to you guys. Thanks for joining us this morning. Let's see how many people we still got here. 10. What's up, Eric? Eric with a C.
Eric,
for those of you that don't know, Eric with a C, that's an alias. He really goes by 0 Point, and he's a filthy bass producer. Maybe post your SoundCloud or something, Eric, so we can vibe out. But big love to you guys. We'll see you later. And I'm also going to make a suggestions channel. So for things that you want to see that we have a capacity to bring through, we're going to go ahead and bring that. Yeah, that's it. Catch you guys later.
Bye.
Big love. Have good days. Make good choices.